Hi there, Derek Pratt here, educator and interim curator at the Erie Canal Museum. And I'm coming to you from inside of our wonderful Erie Eats exhibit. Thank you as always to the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor and the William G. Pomeroy Foundation for their support. Today we're going to be looking here in our cooking and dining section at one of our lovely artifacts in our display case on kind of the china and pottery of the canal. And specifically we're going to be looking at this platter. This platter, produced by Syracuse, China, is on loan to us courtesy of the New York State Museum, and it was used on the official New York State yacht, the Inspector 2. That's why you can see the seal of New York here and our lovely blue and gold color scheme. We have not one, but two official yachts, as the name Inspector 2 would indicate. The original Inspector was built mainly for the barge canal and operated from 1907 to 1930. Then, in 1930, Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was at the time governor of New York, had the Inspector 2 purchased for $30,000, replacing the Inspector 1, and the Inspector 2 was 75 feet long, had a wood-grained interior. It was a very luxurious place. And, of course, FDR being the politician he was, you have to make everything inside that boat, or as much as you can, from businesses in New York. And that is the case with all of the service on the boat. Undoubtedly, Franklin D. Roosevelt, along with many other future governors of New York State and other notable people, enjoyed eating plenty of meals off of this lovely Syracuse China service. FDR, like his distant cousin, Teddy Roosevelt, loved the New York State canal system. Due to his affliction with polio and subsequent disabilities, he also probably enjoyed the Inspector 2 because it allowed him a lot more range of motion than on a train or in an automobile. And we have a lot of accounts of FDR. He would take this Inspector 2 on a tour of the state pretty much every summer when he was governor. Notably, he would come out, he seemed to particularly enjoy central New York, where the museum is located. He visited Syracuse University and the relatively new School of Environmental Science and Forestry, which he was a big supporter of. There's accounts of him swimming in Oneida Lake, and also, of course, these weren't just tours of the state to inspect the state for fun. He was, again, a politician, so out at Three Rivers, where the Seneca and Oneida Rivers intersect to form the Oswego River, the local Democratic Party held a fish fry for him that was evidently very extravagant and large, and no doubt a man who used to work here in our historic Waylock building was there, William O'Brien, who worked here in the late 1910s, and he was also very involved in Baldwinsville's Democratic Party. He was actually the leader of the party out there. So Baldwinsville is very close to Three Rivers, so he was definitely in attendance. Some more on the Inspector 2. Its main purpose was not to just cart around the governor. It was a working part of the canal fleet. New York State canal engineers and inspectors, hence the name, would go around and inspect the canal, seeing it was in good working order when the governor was not using it. It was taken out of service in 1960 and sold in 1963. That was both those things happened during the administration of Nelson Rockefeller. Probably because Nelson Rockefeller had plenty of yachts of his own, no doubt. What happened to the Inspector tube after it was sold? We don't fully know, but the fate of the Inspector tube was it was captured in 1980 by the United States Coast Guard as it transported Cuban refugees to Florida, and it was intentionally sunk by the Coast Guard following that incident off of the coast of South Florida. It started out as the Onondaga Pottery Company. It was organized alongside the canal by a gentleman named W.H. Farrar in 1871, and they started producing some of the earliest American-made fine china. And they started doing that in the 1890s. If you want to learn a lot more about Syracuse china, I would really suggest checking out our friends at the Onondaga Historical Association's YouTube page. But I'll try to give you the synopsis. Syracuse china was used the world over in many hotels, restaurants, and in numerous transportation settings, not just on fabulous yachts owned by the state of New York, but in trains and planes regularly. Syracuse china was a gigantic company. At one point, it employed over 1,000 people in its factories. By the way, it changed its name from Onondaga Pottery to Syracuse China in 1966. They even were contracted during World War II to produce non-metal landmines. So these kind of, I assume, porcelain landmines wouldn't be detected by traditional kind of metal detecting and minesweeping techniques, which is fascinating. But over the years, as China was able to become more mass-produced and cheaply produced, of relatively similar quality, other firms started to outcompete Syracuse china. And in 2009, sadly, Syracuse china closed. While Syracuse china does not exist today, we can still enjoy learning about its history and its great canal story. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you subscribe. Please consider becoming a member and make sure to visit the Erie Eats exhibit. You can either do that in person or we have a virtual exhibit where you can learn more about this artifact and all the other artifacts in our gallery.